I'm Nisha Zachary, and this is the Zigzag Leap, brought to you by Permission to Leap. For years, I've been talking to people about having permission to take a leap of faith. We all know that life doesn't happen in a straight line, so how do you overcome your past and possibly current circumstances to live the life you were created for? Stick around to hear our guest answers that will lend you some courage to give yourself permission to leap, no matter how twisted the path may be. Welcome to Permission to Leap. Today I have with me Dr. Linda Enoh, who is a content marketing strategist, and I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit about her.
Thank you so much for having me, Nisha. I'm super excited to be talking to you today. And a little bit about me. I am a wife, mom of 4 kids, ages 7 and under. Busy. I am a former professor turned content marketing strategist. Anything that has to do with planning and travel and tea. I'm all for it. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so now that's a new one on me. I didn't know about the tea part.
Yeah, I'm a huge tea fan.
Is there one like in particular? Like my dad is all about the green tea.
Yes, I love Moroccan mint tea.
Moroccan green tea. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check this out. So let's talk about a little bit of your background. You are a U.S. citizen by way of the world. So can you explain to us like how that works?
Once upon a time, so I was born and raised in Morocco, that's North Africa, but I'm not Moroccan. My parents are from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, so by birth I'm Congolese, but I've never been to the Congo. So my parents came. I did go to the Congo. I was as a baby to visit for a month, so it doesn't really count. So my parents moved to Morocco for my dad's job. I lived there for 23 years. And then I moved to the US for my master's, my Ph.D., met my husband on campus, got married, got kids. And he was born and raised, he was born in Connecticut, raised in Cameroon, came back to the US for undergrad, went to the military, did his MBA in Texas where we met, and then we got married and got kids.
I love it. So you guys have traveled the world to come together and create your empire that you guys are building over there, creating this amazing legacy. And so one of the things that like really strikes me is that you're going to have a different perspective than most Americans who have been like really landlocked for, like we're very centered. We have our American ideas, whereas you're going to have like a very global perspective on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So thinking of that, what is your definition of permission?
My definition of permission is allowing yourself to do what you want without breaching over somebody else's own permission.
Nice. You see, that's one thing that I've never heard before. Like it's never considered anybody else before when somebody answers that question. I love that. In your journey, like as you've gone through all the things that you've created this life for yourself, how did you step out in the first place? Like how did you, because you wrote a book called How to Score a Debt-Free College Education, which is not the American way. So that right there is a good place to start. Like how did you have this experience where a debt-free college education was like the expected for you?
Yes, and I've noticed that when I came to the US, where it was the norm to actually have student loans and all of that. Well, first of all, because college education here is extremely expensive. Outside of the US, it's not the case. So for my undergrad, so after high school, I had the option to go to France because all my education was in the French system. So we speak French at home. And so I was expected to either stay in Morocco for my undergrad or go to France. And to go to France, it would be the university, which is free, it's public university. And so I ended up staying in Morocco because my oldest brother did that. So it was like a given that I would stay for my undergrad too. And I went to business school. So it was quote unquote paid, but it's the equivalent of $50 for the semester or for the year. So
Wow.
it wasn't it wasn't really a paid school, and it was room and board and all of that included.
Wow.
And it's actually the top business school in Morocco. And so for my parents, that was a given for them that we would eventually go to the US for grad school, like they had made the plans already for us, because they themselves came to the US on a fellowship in the 70s. They went to Florida State. So my dad had a fellowship to Florida State. Yeah. So and so they knew that their kids would eventually go to the US for higher education.
Mhm.
And so I didn't even know all the process. And I give the credit to my dad for really doing the research. And back then it's not like you had internet at home and
Right.
computer at home. And like my dad would print out like piles and piles of schools, different options. He's like, here, choose what you want. Go through these things and choose what you want. So I had different options, and I just applied to the schools that with different majors. Like one was hospitality, one was business, one was sport management. I think because I had different interests. And the one that said, "Yeah, we'll take you," I was like, "Well, let's go."
Okay. So it was basically your dad led the way. So you had this legacy already kind of laid out for you going through this thing. Even with those expectations, what is it that made you say, okay, this is the way it's going to be? Because for grad school, there are different ways that you could have gone about it. And you could have ended up like everybody else, picking an easy route, gotten some easy money that you end up having to pay back. But what was it that made you say, okay, that's not the way I'm doing this?
I think there are two things. One is that I don't think my parents knew that there was the other option, because as an international student, I don't even know if you qualify for federal funding. So for us, it automatically eliminated the government is going to give us some financial aid or anything like that. We only counted on the school. The only thing that we counted on that we knew was that if you get a scholarship from the school, chances are you'll pay in-state tuition. So I was really going for that. I wasn't counting on debt, even if it was debt from a bank in Morocco. My parents were not really counting on that, because it would have, it's astronomical. It's like, how long would it take my parents to repay all of that? So I'm very grateful that was the mindset that they got into. And the interesting thing is that there are a lot of restrictions for an international student. It's like you have to be full-time. That's a visa requirement. You can't do 2 hours or 3 hours a semester and then work part-time. And you can only work on campus. So I couldn't have a job outside of campus and then go to school take 2 classes. No, I had 3 minimum every semester. That's a requirement for your visa. And you can only work on campus part-time. So you were limited on the number of hours you could work every week and where you could work.
Okay, so there's a different set of rules that kind of force you to graduate with no debt.
That either forces you to graduate with no debt or forces you to figure it out, other ways other than debt that comes from the federal government. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most people, there are private loans out there, which can get you really caught up. So the private loans and the federal loans, and if there are certain restrictions for international students, then like you said, figure it out. And by figuring it out, I would think it gives you a different perspective at the end of it as well, because you come out at a very different position than somebody else.
Yeah. And also the fact that me and my brothers, we came for grad school. We didn't come for undergrad. So we said 4 to 5 years already by staying in Morocco, doing our undergrad in Morocco,
Right.
totally free, and then coming for our master's degree for 2 years. So my parents were like, okay, we're gonna stay, we're gonna sacrifice, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, whatever it takes for grad school. And that's how it worked out.
Okay. So now you have 4 little ones that are 7 and under. And so you've got about what, 11 years, give or take, before your first one is ready. And then you've got them like back to back after that, right?
Yeah.
So now your kids are not international students. They are like
US citizens. Yeah.
US citizens. And so how does that work? Because now they don't have the same like things open to them, you know, the Moroccan education, the option to go to France, like they're here. So how do you prepare for that now?
They are better prepared because they have the advantages of doing the in-state if they want to do in-state. So automatically they'll play in-state. But also as my husband and I, the fact that we lived abroad and that we speak other languages, we really want to get our kids to speak other languages. Like I don't know when they're teenagers, maybe I'm going to change and all that, but I'm okay with my kids going away. Like my husband went to boarding school for primary school. And so he's like, yeah, we can ship these kids out and send them out. It's okay. I've done it.
Right.
They'll be right. So we are completely okay to send them away for undergrad because we know that it's just a flight away. We can go visit them anytime. They can come visit anytime. And it's very enriching for them to travel and see the world and all of that. So we are not into, because we went to Texas A&M, they need to go to Texas A&M. Because I went to UConn and my parent went to UConn, they need to. It would be cool. I think it would be a fun fact more than anything, right? We're not really into, they have to go to certain schools. So for us, our assumption is that yes, we're doing the college saving and all of that, but at the same time, we are open for them. We expect, in a way, not like we're going to force them out, but we expect them to be open to other places, to know that, hey, if you want, you can go and get the same, if not better, education in Mexico, in France, in Spain, anywhere around the world.
Okay. That was one of the first things that surprised me when I was reading your book. So I didn't realize that an outside education and studying abroad would be cheaper than, doing it here in the US. I just always assumed because it's so expensive here, it's expensive everywhere. Yeah. And so one of the ways you say in the book, to get a lower cost of education is to study abroad. And I'm like, why would you send your children out there like that? Why would you? But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like if they can explore the world, learn different cultures, and get a good education for less money, then why not send them out there?
Absolutely. And, studying abroad is a very popular thing here in the US. And a lot of schools have very solid programs to study abroad. The only thing with that is that when you study abroad from your school, you still pay the same fees, the same tuition, but you pay that to be somewhere else, right? So why not do the being somewhere else, but being based in another school instead of a US school? So you have that study abroad experience for 4 years, you can come back for the holidays and all of that, but you don't pay US fees, you pay French fees or Mexican fees or wherever you are.
Right. And I think that that's the key that people need to realize. It's not just study abroad, it's study abroad as a citizen or visa recipient for the other country as well.
Yeah. And also because we talked about the restrictions, other countries will also have restrictions because now you'll be a foreigner there. So you might not be able to work like you would be able to work here. There are certain, there's a maximum number of hours you can work over there as well. But now when you think about where you go, for example, if it's an American going to Morocco, with the exchange rate, what you're saving, so you don't have to work outside of school because your dollar is going farther than the local currency. So depending on where you go, again, you might not even have to do extras that you would have to do if you were to stay here and work part-time and go to school part-time, and it's taking 6 years to graduate from undergrad. So.
Okay. Wow. So that's one big step that people really should consider. Like, think about leaving the country. It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all.
Okay, so a lot of people, like, to get like a bare minimum job, you have to have a bachelor's degree. In the United States these days, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Then you went on to get your master's, and then you went on to get your Ph.D. Like, okay, God bless you, first of all. But the fact that you were able to do all of it debt-free is what really amazes me. But in doing all of this, the very last section of the book that I read was the military option, which most parents will tell their children not to do. And I grew up in a military family, so I think the military option is like fabulous because it covers so many things and it benefits your family so much. Plus, you get that travel abroad and all the other benefits.
Exactly.
But a lot of people say, don't send your children into that. It's not worth it. Like, the trade-off isn't worth it. So why did you put this sometimes controversial subject into your book? And like, what do you hope people get out of that section?
And that was a shout out to my husband because that was his part of it. I personally didn't experience it, and that's his contribution to the book because he's the one who did that. Because when he came to the US, when he came back, his younger sister is a year younger than him. So his dad was like, I'm giving you 1 year, I'm going to pay for your school. But then next year, your sister is coming after you. Both of you are going to UConn. Figure it out for the second year. So the first year, he had time to get adjusted and everything. And then his option was like, okay, what do I do? He saw a recruiter and everything. They promised him a lot of things. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So that's what he did. It took him longer to get his undergrad. But the benefits, the trade-offs are humongous because, well, obviously the training and all of that, but it also helped him to get into the MBA program at A&M, at Texas A&M, because they are very veteran friendly. They had a lot of incentives for him being a veteran. And so they gave him they threw a lot of money at him to come to Texas because he could stay at UConn for his master's because they're like, hey, you've been here 5 years, we'll keep you here for the MBA. And he applied at A&M, and they're like, ooh, Black man has his own business already as an undergrad, and he's a veteran. Yes, we'll pay you to come here, right?
I love it.
All the quotas here. So that was really good for him that he had that military experience because it really helped him to continue his school. Even now, he still has some benefits that he can use, like he's trying to get his CPA, and the government is paying for that. So it's an additional advantage that he has because he went to Army.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. We've covered going abroad, joining the military. The one that people seem to struggle with the most is like finding money right here at home, like scholarships, grants. Like, what is the secret to this?
You know what? I think, and from the perspective, so after I graduated from A&M, well, before I graduated, actually, I was a professor at Whitehead College. So those of you who know the great debaters, Denzel Washington, that's the school. So
nice.
I was a professor there. And so my students were asking for money, like scholarships and all that. And speaking with the financial aid there, like they had a lot of money that was not being claimed. And that's the thing, is that we sometimes feel like there's not enough money, but there's a lot of money that goes back to those institutions, but the students don't apply. Because, I mean, when you're a teenager, when you're 18, 19, you're like, I don't want to write another essay. I don't want to, right? I mean, we've all been there. But sometimes it just takes an essay and a recommendation from your professor to get $1,500, to get $3,000. And that money goes a long way. That goes to books, that goes into room and board sometimes, that goes into what is going to take you from out of state to in state. So a little money here and there helps. That's one thing. There is a lot of money out there that is not claimed. Second thing is go into specifics. So don't, sure, apply to the broad scholarships that everybody applies to, but go into the ones that are very specific to you. If you play an instrument, if you're from a specific area, if you speak a specific language, if you're left-handed, if you have red hair, if you're a fan of Star Wars, there are scholarships for everything. So just search. The money is out there. The money is really out there.
Okay, so it's going beyond what's basically right there in front of you. Like everybody looks
Yeah.
for the big ones, and you look for the federal grants and those kind of things.
Yeah. So that's where all the competition is. Everybody qualifies for those. So it's tougher to get those. But the ones where you have those unique things, like maybe your, I know, country club thing or something very specific, there's less competition. So you have more chances to get those.
Okay. As an insider who's like been in the school system, like as a professor and working with the financial aid to, to help your students get money, why is it that more don't come forward? Is it because they don't know? Is it all because they just don't want to write an essay? Or is it like possibly that they don't know? They don't know what they don't know.
I think a lot of kids don't know what they don't know because at 17, even me at 23, when I came to Texas for my master's, I was, I guess, mature, quote unquote. But there were a lot of things that I didn't know in terms of financial aid and I came in, I was like, okay, I'm in, right? I didn't know that I had to reapply every year or things like that. So there's a lot of education that the kids don't necessarily know or not aware of when they apply for college, that they don't know that, okay, this is a semester only, this is the whole semester, or that you can have more than one scholarship, that they can be applied to different things. And that needs to happen before they are going to college. Like when they're applying, they need to be aware of those things. And a lot of kids are not aware of these. They're not being taught about all of that.
Makes sense. Like you said, at 17, like it's really not that big a deal. It's not that important.
Yeah. You want to go, you're like, oh, they accepted me, I'm out of here. That's it.
Somebody will take care of the bill. That makes sense. So, can you tell everybody, like, how do I want to say this? One, where can they find your book? Let's start with that.
Yes.
But can you tell everybody where they can find your book?
Sure, it's on Amazon. So you can either look by my name. I'm the only Linda Enoh on Amazon, LINDAENOH, and the book is How to Score a Debt-Free College Education. Okay,
and can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes, you can definitely connect with me on Instagram, Linda Enoh Ph.D. So that's my handle. Connect with me on Instagram, DM me, so well and good.
I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna pause like right here because that was friggin' awesome. Like I really wanted to talk to you about the book, but I also want to talk to you about like what you do now.
Yeah.
And like go into like your content creation and that kind of thing. If you have time, I know we've already been here 30 minutes.
I'm fine. Like I have the girls in front of Disney, so you're fine.
Yay for Disney.
Yay for Disney. They need to sponsor me.
Right? I wish they would give me a couple extra stocks.
Right.
But what I want to do is talk about like, okay, you've graduated college, like we'll just start like from where you are now and what you're doing and talk about like how you got there. Because you went to school for business. How did you give yourself permission? Because we've already talked about your definition of permission. So how did you give your self-permission, even with the landscape of everybody is doing this and most of them suck at it, let me just say, but that's a whole nother conversation. Not something I'm going to say for the public, but being that it's a crowded market.
Yeah.
how did you give yourself permission to go out there and just make your own mark? Okay, so, all right, so let's talk about what you're doing now. So you are a content marketing strategist. Do I have that right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
So can you tell us what that even means?
Well, that means that I really helps you put together the strategy behind your content. So basically deciding on what to share, where to share it, when to share it, and most importantly, why to share it, so that you can not only grow your audience, but ultimately get more clients and have more impact with the work that you do.
Okay. So all of those questions seem super, super simple. Like you share it because that's what you have to do. And, you know, like that's what you're expected to do. And you share it all the time, all day, everywhere. But it sounds like you have a slightly different strategy. So can you just give us like a quick overview of what your thought process is?
Definitely. So when I work with my clients, I always tell them that it really starts with you in terms of having a goal in sight. Because I mean, we all know when we get into Facebook, we forget what we got in there for.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to get in there. You need to get in there with intention and with a specific goal. Like Facebook gets you somehow, but still you need to get a goal. So with your content, same thing. You need to know what the end goal is. Okay, what is my paid offer? Why do I want to make that offer? And then based on that, you're going to share the right content that is aligned with that offer. So for example, if my end offer is something that has to do, it's my retreat, for example, my Morocco retreat. And it's all about creating your next 90 days of content. That's what we're going to do there. So that's my offer. But what if I go on Facebook and I forget to my end goal, my offer, and I go in there and I talk about time management in my content? Time management, this, as a mom, we need to do this, and you need to. It's not leading to that offer. It's not leading to the paid offer, because the content, the free content, is an appetizer leading to the main entree, which is your paid offer. So a lot of people are like, let me go online and just share motivational quotes and Bible verses and all that. And I love those. I love quotes. I love Bible verses. I share them. But there has to be an intention behind everything that you do online. I don't want it to sound like non-genuine, but it is, because otherwise you're just going to waste time online. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing, and you need to have a strategy behind it, basically.
Right. And I think that's part of what keeps you genuine and what draws people into what you're doing, is because you are very authentic with your stuff. When you put your content out there, it's like, yes, you have an end goal, but everything is very valuable along the way to that goal. So your Moroccan retreat is what, next year?
In March 2020.
March 2020. So even now, like, wait, 2022. Yes. I was like, wait, didn't catch that. So March 2022, and a year ahead of time, you're already laying the groundwork. I mean, that's like serious intention, but it's also like creating extreme value for the people that you're relating to, that you're drawing in, because their minds are set a year in advance for like, okay, I can do all of this like piece by piece. Imagine what I could do at a retreat and what I can accomplish in the 90 days following that retreat.
Okay.
So when you say you're a strategist, that's the kind of strategy. It's like long-term. You play chess, not checkers, essentially.
That's absolutely it. I like puzzles, and that's how I personally see it. It's like, okay, are you starting with corners? Are you starting with there's a strategy when you do the puzzle. It's not just random and trying every piece and see if it fits. No, you have to look. Oh, there's an eye here. Oh, let me look at the other eye because it matches.
Right.
So
totally understand. Like, I'm one of those people. It's like, okay, put all the colors together, do the outside, and then kind of figure out where the pieces go from there. I love it. Okay, so you have a group on Facebook. And a lot of people say Facebook groups are dead. Is it worth it to have a Facebook group?
Oh, it is the thing to have on Facebook. Listen, Facebook does TV commercials about Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting money in it. Facebook groups is the place to be. And they want, I mean, Facebook has come out, I think it was last year, with the whole community first, community first, community first. So they're
Right.
really paying for the Facebook groups. If you're looking at your timeline now, if you go on Facebook, what are you going to see? You're going to see posts on personal feeds, on personal profiles, and Facebook groups that you
Mm-hmm.
belong to. You will rarely see business pages content on your timeline because Facebook is pushing obviously personal relationships, so personal profiles,
Right.
and connections in communities, so Facebook groups. Definitely, definitely, definitely have a Facebook group. It's a lot of work at first, but it's worth it.
So how do you get your group to become active and not completely self-sustaining, but to the point where it's like you're not in there all the time, like force feeding people content, but they're
Yeah,
actually engaging?
yeah. So first thing is planning content in advance. So making sure that you have content scheduled, so you don't have to be like today. The content is going out as we speak because it's been scheduled, right? So I don't have to be in there. And two is to engage with the people who engage in there. If nobody engages, tag people in there, get them to invite the right people, even if it's your biz bestie, invite them in there to start conversations and things like that. Respond to comments, all the comments that you see in there. And people will feel more comfortable posting themselves. And once they do, it just takes off.
Makes sense. Okay, so you just mentioned the Facebook groups, and then you
Mhm.
talked about like your biz page and your personal profile.
Yeah.
Do you recommend posting to your biz page?
Yes, absolutely. You need a business page because that's the first thing that people see after your personal profile,
Right.
just to see if you're in business.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody will see your group because it's private. I mean, I always recommend you set it on private. Having a business page is also a requirement if you want to run ads, Facebook
Okay.
ads. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely a business page. You don't have to post in there every day. Doing once a week, twice a week, or even 3 times a week is more than enough. And it can be content that you've shared in other places. You don't have to break yourself in 36 pieces just to just to
Right.
create content for your business page.
Which is one of those things that I definitely want to post, like with this video. You have this content calendar that shows you like how to post, like all the different places and different ways to
Yeah,
repurpose your content and make it like really work for you. So I would love to be able to give people a link to that so that they can like see how your mind works and like why they
yeah.
need to be in your group. But one of the things that I was taught early on was to use your personal page to post all your business content and like really go all in on your personal page. I have found that that is kind of suspect, especially as far as Facebook is concerned. So I would like to know what your opinion is, because you have the group, you have your page, Instagram offers many possibilities, LinkedIn, all of these places. Why would you or should you use your personal profile?
So using your personal profile for business purposes goes against Facebook terms and conditions. So they can shut you down if they see that you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a person and as a business owner, your business is you, right? And for most of us doing service-based businesses, we are, I mean, you're a coach, you're a strategist, you're a psychologist, whatever you are. So talking about your kids is in a way the same thing as talking about your business. Now, here's the thing, you don't have to openly sell and put a link and say buy here and here's the link. That's what goes against Facebook's regulation because you're actually selling from your personal profile. What
Mm-hmm.
you can do is talk about your business. Hey, I'm about to do a training about this. I'm excited, or I just did this, or I just landed a client, or and people will naturally want to know, okay, what does she do? Or hey, I want to know more
Right.
about what's happening in her Facebook group, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
then you can bring other people in another area, whether it's your business page, Facebook group, website, where they will buy from you, not the personal page, but It's really to take them to the place where they will buy.
That makes sense. So it's the links that make the difference, and like I guess the attitude with which you approach the subject itself.
Exactly. I mean, the link is an easy trigger for the algorithm because they're like, oh, a link.
Mhm.
Let me see. Is it a
Yeah.
page? But if you're just talking about it, and depending on how you talk about it, it might not be seen as promotion. Again, depending on the words that you use. So if you use words like free, only $97, special, the algorithm is going to be like, oh, wait, what's she talking about here? So that's why they feel like, you trying to sell here?
Exactly.
So just be aware of that.
And that's what I think a lot of people, because you see a lot of people force feeding their information, their business, their whatever it is, to you on your feed, and it's like, okay, let me snooze you for a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
There's people that are like you that have business, or I've got a couple of friends that do have business, but they talk about it the way you said, like it's just part of their conversation. This is what's going on, and this is what I've experienced in my business, and how this translates into real life.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I snooze a lot of people left and right, for sure. but yeah, talk about it as an extension of your life, just like we would talk about a trip or your kids or your spouse or the weather, anything like that.
Love it. So how did you get from business school to being a content strategist?
Oh, great question. So my undergrad was in marketing, business school. Then my master's was in hospitality management, and my Ph.D. even more specialized in tourism sciences. So my research was on studying tourist behaviors at sites related to war, atrocities, slavery, and things like that. So really understanding why people go visit certain places. And so the research experience that I've had has given me that advantage when it comes to business, because every business starts with research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm using that research in my undergrad background in marketing it's basically content marketing, it's planning, it's research, and it's marketing, right? So doing the market research, understanding what your audience wants, and then planning it and giving it to them at the right time.
Gotcha. Ask you. So when you're doing all of this and you've made your way from business school to content marketing, what is next for you? Like, where do you go from here?
Oh, great question. Are you familiar with Rick Steves, the traveler?
Mm-hmm.
I've always said that I would be the Rick Steves of Africa, just like he does for Europe. I would do it for Africa. I have, like I said, I'm obsessed with travel, and I started my journey as a travel blogger before, when I was still a professor and all of that. I had a travel blog on the side, and my vision is to continue to do tourism consulting, because I've done that when I was in academia, and traveling the world and with my family, with my husband and my kids, and improving tourism all around the world, and allowing small communities to develop tourism in a way that is fair, and that is fair for their community, so that they can make better advancements. That's my vision.
I love that. I absolutely love that. The fact that like you can do all of this, and like it's like you have a heart for the people, no matter which place you're in. Like when you're talking about the money for college, it's the heart for the kids that are trying to get there, and then your heart for your family, the heart for the people that are trying to create content, and then the communities through travel. I think that's absolutely awesome. When I met you, you were more into the travel than content. So to see the evolution, but to know that it's coming back, is just awesome to watch.
It is, right? It's like, it's been, I think that a lot of times in business, and I think it's in a lot of industries, I was thinking about that just the other day, when you think about musicians, when you think about Pink. Okay, I was listening to Pink's song, Let's Get the Party Started. remember how Pink started? She was like very R&B. But that's not her now, right? But she
Not
had
at
to start somewhere. Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle, Britney Spears. It was the pop, like, I mean, they still do pop, but they had to start somewhere.
Right.
And then evolve. We all evolve. So we start our businesses in a certain way. It's not good or bad. It's just, we need to get started.
Right.
And a lot of people don't get started because they're scared to be stuck in that area. You don't have to be stuck in that area. You evolve just like life evolves. So it's about getting started, and things will flow. You will grow. Things will happen. Like when I started, I didn't have kids. And then now I have 4. And how does that shape my business and the things that I wanted to spend more time doing and less time doing? And so it has been a progression, and I'm loving the whole journey. I'm really enjoying it.
I love it. So in that case, where can people find you to watch this evolution unfold?
It's going to be on my Instagram. It's all going to be on my Instagram because I talk about content in there, and I'm about to share, I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm about to share more about my family and how I juggle it all, because a lot of people are like, how do you do all of that? There's 4 little kids at home. I'm like, I'll just share. So I'm gonna be sharing more about that side of me on my same handle. I cannot separate it. I cannot hide. I have to share it all. So it's gonna be again Linda Enoh, Ph.D. That's where
I will make sure that I drop it down under this video so that everybody can hear it, and then the show notes for the podcast itself. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so glad that we had this chance to talk and see like how you got started all the way to where you are now and where you're going, and to be able to share like your thought process, because watching it unfold is like watching magic happen on the internet. And it's like, I know she's not always here, but it's like she's always here. So thank you for that. And thank you for giving yourself permission to evolve from where you started to where you are now, and knowing that eventually your path will take you exactly where your heart would designs and desires to be. I think that is like the true mark of leadership.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This has been wonderful. So much fun.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from Permission to Leap, go to permissiontoleap.com and subscribe to our email list. When you do, we'll send you a digital leap guide. Thanks again, and talk to you next time.